believe we had left off with the airship was descending down, and you could see the city of Ilium below you. It's a pretty bustling city now, from the small little country town that it was 100 years ago. Um, you can see a lot of really small, dots of the people moving around, and then as you're getting closer, the dots aren't getting all that much bigger, and as you get closer and closer, they're still staying pretty small. And you realize as you dock that the town is almost entirely comprised of mouse folk.
Ah.
And as you dock and the captain wishes you luck on your adventure, you guys are able to descend into the city of Ilium.
Oh.
Off in the far distance, you can see the forest, which does lead into the grove, which you assume to be the case, considering the giant, probably 150 foot tall, uh, barricade of interweaving bramble bushes.
Nice. And spooky.
Before we fully disembark,
Mhm.
and I'll get you this later, Kitasha will hand off a letter to Naveen.
Ooh, all right.
Can you drop this in the post when you're back?
Oh, I have to remember Naveen's voice.
His voice was big. His voice
I
was
can
big.
do that. No worries about it, lass.
Mhm.
We're gonna go with that accent, and that's fine.
It's fine. He's a man of the breeze.
Yeah. And he will take the letter from you and guarantee that it will be delivered. Who is this letter for? Just so the DM knows what they're writing for later.
It is
Oh.
for Blue Wax person.
Oh! Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a time to be had. Secrets from the rest of the D&D party. Woohoo.
The secrets from the DM. No one knows.
No one knows. Not even the DM knows what's happening there. But yeah, you can enter into the city of Ilium. There is what seems to be a bar that is the most busy area of the entire town. It's kind of become a town center almost, it looks like. Otherwise, there's a lot of just little inns and small, like, houses and restaurants, all from the airship dock, where now people are unloading a few cargo freights before the ship will inevitably depart.
Well, this place seems quite nice, actually. I think Joe will turn to Miss Abdi and say, "Were you planning on spending any time outside, in the city, or are you still looking to arrive as quickly as possible to complete your journey?"
Um, well, if you would like to take in some of the sights here, I do hear that the tavern there is something that, especially for those visiting the Grove, it's known to be somewhere nice to stop before you head in. But
Suppose we have been flying for a few days. It might be nice to regain our land legs.
yes, before we undergo the trial of entering the Grove.
There's a trial.
What does it entail?
Oh, I think it'll mainly, since I intend to stay, I think it'll mainly be me. Just they talk about a couple of great beasts that will come and judge
Oh,
your
I'm so
character.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's get out of the middle of the dock area and let's
Yes.
move towards the tavern.
We've
Uh,
lined up like perfectly
I
blocking
know.
there's a traffic jam
No,
behind us.
all I can think of is like a big circle like in the middle of a street and like cars are trying to go
Oh,
around and people.
always. I had to deal with a couple of those today.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, you guys can start making your way towards the tavern. Are you going to go inside, or are you just
I think so.
wanting to hang around outside?
I
I mean,
don't
if
see.
it's
We
too
could go.
busy, actual table, I think Hitachi would rather stay outside. Um,
When you look in, it doesn't look like many people are actually seated. There seems to be a line of people wandering up and looking at items, almost like a museum exhibit inside this tavern.
Hmm.
So there are still quite a few seats.
All right, let's
all
do
right.
this. Moitaji, your beliefs don't forbid alcohol, do they?
No, it's quite all right.
All right, I just wanted to make sure we weren't going to, ruin your day or something.
Oh no, the main thing would be if you desecrated a dead body.
Okay, oh, I'm not planning on doing that.
Then you should be fine.
I don't think people plan on doing that in advance. You know what? Let's just go inside and grab a drink.
Yeah, as you walk inside, once more you are greeted by there seems to be more of a variety of species in here. You've got a couple of halflings, you got a couple of dwarves, a turtle or two. Quite a few people are in here, and they're gathered around a large glass case display. And you can see a handful of items, and you have a brief moment as you walk by. Who has the highest passive perception here?
Hmm.
I think,
So 13 for me.
yeah, I also have 13. I think it's Mako.
I have a 14.
Haha.
Yep.
All
I
right.
mean, if the people are thinking something really loud, Hitachi can probably glean it with her 19 passive insight.
No, it's more as you walk by Mako, you're able to see that inside of the glass case they are magical items, but you're not really sure why they're on display. And then there's one that just doesn't seem to fit at all as you look at a what you believe to be an infinite cape, an immovable rod, two sets of sending stones, a pair some magic ropes, you assume, a seeing mirror, and what appears to be two cups on a string. All on display.
Can
And there's
I glean any pattern, or is this like seemingly random?
I mean, just from you, this feels very random, but if you wanted to do a perception check, you could try to overhear the woman that is currently doing a whole presentation on these items.
That's a 23.
Oh yeah, and as you're walking by, you can hear her go on about how, oh, and the last group to enter the grove before the wall fell. You know, they were approached by a couple of people and had these items to see if they could break through the barrier with it. And so they tried everything from having an infinite cape that was wrapped around a tree. They tried this two cups on a string. This is the cups on a string that they used to try to communicate with the outside world when they entered the grove. Alas, none of these things worked because of the insane magic that was once holding the grove as a secret hidey hole. And she continues on to wax poetic about, you think you hear the name Malachi in there somewhere, but
I think Joe will say, maybe to no one in particular, or perhaps just to Moitaji, is so is the we're not going to be trapped in there now. That part's gone, right? Just to be really sure about that.
oh, yes, the grove was once there was a well, the history's a bit fuzzy, not being from the grove as well as it's been 100 years. My understanding was there was a great mage who made this barrier, and it was such an intensely powerful barrier that nothing could get through or out. But Terra invaded and broke through the barrier, and the barrier disintegrated or something along those lines happened. But then a great battle was fought with the head priestess of Belhair, as well with her traveling companion. And they
So that's
defeated Terra during their invasion and sent them out. Quite a splendid
okay.
battle, I heard.
So the okay, so the enchantment is gone, and now it is more of a it just has meaning rather than power. Is that would I be right in saying that?
Um, in a way, I don't think that anyone would trap you in there. There is still a lot of precautions on who is allowed to come inside. Again, like I said, there are the kind of trial sort of thing, but it's more of the beast will judge my heart as I enter to see if I'm truly allowed to stay in the grove.
Hmm.
That does remind me, please do not attack anything inside the grove. That would be very bad for us, if
Noted.
my knowledge is correct.
Even if it's like on accident?
I mean, I'm sure accidents do happen and that would be fine, but I mean more having the intent to harm something.
Okay. I don't think we've ever really intended on harming things.
I
And
mean,
Kitasha will like look at Joe and then look at Mako and then back at Motaji. Uh, at least I haven't.
Well, that's good. We have a brief flashback. Cinematically wise, I feel like we should flash back to
It's gonna be
Mako
like like it's
stabbing
gonna be
a
a still
man.
of Joe at the table with the head explosion behind him.
Yeah, the exploding head, you've got Mako just stabbing a man over and over. And then there's the brief moment of when Kitasha says, unmeaning to harm someone, that there's just so many flashes of every time one of her, like, shock attacks caused party damage. Just in a brief succession, just... But it's fine.
Just so many like 3 minutes of smash cuts.
But it's quite alright. We know Kitasha doesn't mean to hurt the party, most of the time.
Just feelings sometimes.
Emotional damage is different.
Doesn't count. Anyway, well, we'll at least do our best to not intentionally hurt anything in there. I think.
That sounds good. I think, from my understanding, the members of the Grove are quite welcoming. I believe two members of the party that helped save the Grove during that invasion still live amongst the people there. One being the high priestess of the Belhair Temple within. But yeah, I think there's a... If stories are to be believed, there's a handful of people who did see the Grove as it once was before everything changed. And it would be interesting to hear their stories. As well, in your quest of looking for stuff in regards to those flowers, they might have some information. I know that um the high priestess some people call him her child, but then also some people just say her apprentice. I know that he has a large collection of books and studies that would be a very good, you know, I would think starting point maybe.
okay. I suppose we could get some more just general information might be interesting. All right. Did you want to so what time of day is it right now? Do you have a
It's
question?
currently probably early afternoon.
Hmm. Did you want to try and get there this evening, or would you rather wait for the morning?
Oh, yes, I would like to get there probably within the day because this is a very important day.
It is.
Yeah, it's the day we landed.
Yes, but the reason there's so many people here viewing the items is this is the day the barrier fell. This is the 100th anniversary of when the grove opened up to the world.
Hmm. Okay. Well, in that case, we should probably make sure we get there.
Quite.
Then drinks on me if anyone does want a drink, unless someone's going to tell me that we probably shouldn't have drinks.
I mean, do you still have money left?
Let me check my pocket in my app. Which tab is it in? I have 9 gold and 5 silver. We need to get some money.
We had money.
What happened?
We bought a book.
Oh yeah, that did take all our money.
Mhm.
It's a very nice book.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, it shouldn't cost too much.
I'll get drinks. It's
Are
fine.
we, Motaji, do you know if we're gonna be like camping?
I don't believe so. I think it's been documented that traveling through the forest and then the thicket surrounding should take us about 3 hours, I'd like to say.
Okay.
So we should be fine if we head out at a decent hour.
We're no stranger to traveling and camping in weird places and monsters and animals and all the other things going on.
Mm, I'm sure. What a brave adventuring party.
It's brave of you to say that. And Kitashi will grab a menu and just
What a brave
open it up.
adventuring party with no emotional trauma whatsoever.
Nope, can't be us.
Oh, yeah, you guys are able to order drinks. For the table, it'll basically just be 2 gold. So Joe does have enough to cover drinks.
Okay, I'll lose 2 gold off the thingy.
These are more expensive drinks since this is a kind of touristy town with the Grove and all.
It's that Disney tax. Always gets you.
Yeah. And you guys are able to enjoy your drinks in relative peace outside of the random crowds of people. And I keep looking over and just seeing this beautiful kitty cat just so enthralled with you, Anna.
No, she's upset. I have the other cat in my lap right now,
Oh, I see.
and she wants her turn. Don't pet the painting. Stop. Anyway,
But yes, so you guys are able to enjoy your drinks outside of, the large crowds of people that keep wandering in and talking loudly and, discussing cups on a string and whether or not they feel that was like a viable plan in order to get through a magic barrier.
maybe they tied interesting knots in the rope, made it like a living charm that they could hurl at the wall.
Does Kitasha go to inspect them to see if that's the case?
I mean, if it's not too busy over there, I feel like I know you said that there's other species here, but I think Kitasha's gonna be like one of the biggest.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh, no worries.
Elevator music time.
Oh, things are happening. And here we have the intermission. Make this a good spot that David can just cut out a whole chunk of audio here. Oh, maybe not too much.
I'm back. The
Hel-
cat decided to throw a fit on the other side of the room.
Oh, what
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, great fun. We love it.
10 out of 10.
Anyway, is there a lot of smaller than 6 foot folk over there?
Yes, you're definitely quite a bit taller than most of the people there.
Yeah, Kitoshi will hang back, give off that big, gentle giant energy.
Mhm. Yeah, as you gaze over the heads of everyone, it is just 2 little cups attached by some twine. There's no fancy knots or anything. It's just much like children will use to speak across rooms.
I mean, the children of New Dragon's Rook, probably.
Yes.
Akamorian children? Absolutely not.
Oh. But yeah, none of these items, like, some of them are expensive magic items, but to you looking at it, it's kind of the, huh, I just because some people 100 years ago used these items once to try and do a thing, now they're fancy. Who knew?
Hmm. I think Joe starts speaking, maybe to Mako, like trying to keep his voice down a little bit. He says, cups on a string aren't actually that useful.
Really?
Yeah, if you're close enough to, I mean, unless you have a really long string, I guess, but you can usually just hear the other person speaking if you're that close. And sending stones work much better. I don't know why you'd ever bother with those. Just get some sending stones.
I have to imagine the intent with the strings or the cans on the string was for a non-arcane approach, given that every other option was a strictly magical one, and from what I understand, the barrier was strictly magical.
I suppose that makes sense with those limitations. I guess I'm used to artifice allowing for creation of magic items fairly easily. So I guess maybe not everyone has that.
Why didn't they just write a letter?
Well,
Oh, to
uh, to within the grove, it was 100%. If you were not invited into the grove, you could not enter.
But they couldn't, like, write a letter to maintain contact with the outside world?
Nope.
Do
Not
letters need permission to enter?
as
Are
far.
letters sentient?
The letter carrier would.
What if you, like, threw it in? You made some sort of, like,
I think they
triangular
tried
shape.
that. I think that was part of the thing with the cups on a string or the ropes, I think, was that they tried to just send things back through the barrier and nothing from inside could leave. Neither physical things or like sentient things or just objects. None of that could leave.
well, maybe it's better that the curse is lifted or the shield is lifted to allow people to access better. I don't know.
Perhaps. I think that's something that will be an interesting discussion. There's a great documentation book that's just titled The Grove that if you wanted to learn more that you could totally go, it's available just about anywhere.
Hmm. I suppose we could look up that.
Was that a
That dab
This
was
isn't.
me inputting in season 1. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
So are you plugging this book to us? Is that Is that what's happening?
Oh, it's just a very interesting read to see, all the different things that these warriors went through, and they were, they weren't an adventuring party like you guys. They all just individually received a letter and happened to arrive at the same time.
I see. Okay. Well, it sounds like they were probably very impressive people.
Yes, I think they were. At least most of the time.
Well, I'm glad we're following in the footsteps of other humanoids
Yes.
as opposed to gods.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Yeah.
All
I
right.
think there was a djinn involved at one point. I'm not sure.
A djinn? Oh, a djinn.
Yes, yes, like the magical being, not the type of alcohol.
Joe looks down at his drink.
We don't know that. They could have made a distillation of juniper berries and pine, and it could have made it.
That does sound like something one of the characters would do, but I think there was plenty of drinking and merriment at times. But yes, if you're all ready, I think it might be best for us to begin our journey.
Yep,
All
I
right.
think so.
Lead the way.
And as you leave the tavern bar, you can watch and observe as you make your way through the city. There's many mouse folk of all different colors and I'd say sizes. There is a few of them every once in a while that you see that are surprisingly buff. And you wonder if they're descendants of some great mouse folk that you just don't remember ever reading about, but perhaps. But as you keep going, you slowly make your way further towards the grove. And as mentioned before, while the grove is no longer magically cut off from the world, it still carries its high walls. That even from the ground here, you can gaze up above at the forest with its thick, weaving vines and barbs that are making the plant based wall of the grove. Now, you begin to enter into the forest, and slowly, the shades of the trees begin to go from a very vibrant green to a bit darker, and slowly, slowly, it begins to get darker as vines and brambles begin to encase around you as you continue walking forward.
Anyone else getting the real nice, like, claustrophobic vegetation energy?
Don't know what you're talking about. Everything's great.
Does Kitasha actually feel
Everything's
everything's
great.
great, or is it
Oh, no, Kitasha absolutely gets claustrophobic.
okay? Um, Joe thinks about pulling out a weapon, but decides against it, against his better judgment.
Is it particularly noisy, or is it like because like most woods have like a lot of like background noise? Like as we're getting deeper, is this actually like a normal woods?
So when you were first walking in, there was a lot of bird song and the occasional scamper of wildlife. But the deeper you're getting in, the darker and less lively it's becoming. You're beginning to feel like this is more of you're beginning to enter more and more of the barrier rather than just the forest. And every once in a while you can hear the scamper of a little mouse or the fluttering wings of a bird, but nowhere near the sound that you normally would hear within a forest.
Hmm.
All right, I guess we'll keep heading on, but yeah, following the lead of our guide here.
And you continue on. It gets darker and darker as slowly it just becomes a singular path through this thick, weaving branches and vines and deep, deep green. And slowly you do begin to see a variant of colors. Now you're getting some browns and yellows, and as you walk out into the first clearing, still within the walls, you gaze upon a creature unlike anything you've seen before. As a very tall creature of, if the party members know what a maned wolf looks like, the body of a maned wolf stands before you with a skull of a great deer upon its head. And it stares you down and slowly approaches, and you can hear a deep rumbling voice, but you cannot discern what it says. And as
Like it's a
So we're-
language we don't know.
you are not who it's speaking to.
Okay.
I think if we stay very still, it'll just ignore us. Maybe
The
it can only
priest-
see.
The priestess before you begins to walk towards it.
Mm,
And she makes a bow towards it, and as it approaches her, you watch as it lowers its head and lowers and lowers and lowers until the very edge of its snout can press to the top of her head, and you all hear the words of "Bring no harm" echoed. And the wolf creature lifts its head, and as though it was never there, it vanishes.
That was
okay.
unsettling.
I suppose as long as we're not, none of us are intending harm, so maybe we'll be okay.
It's quite a magnificent creature, isn't it? They question on where they came from, whether they were creations of Malachi the wizard, or if they were just things that he plucked from the universe when the barrier was formed. Even those who were invited at times, it said, some were still kicked out if they were found unworthy, or if it deemed that they would bring harm or greed or prejudice into this land. And still a remnant of them here. It's quite nice.
This Malachi fellow, he's been mentioned a few times. Does anyone know if he's still alive?
Oh, as far as I know, he has died quite a while ago. He was a human after all, and while he did expand his life magically, I believe that once the barrier was brought down, he only lived a decade or so more.
See, okay. All right, well, perhaps we can ask any questions of the people that remained here in the grove then. Let's continue on.
Yes, I think it'd be quite nice. And she'll continue on as you enter in through another narrowing, almost hallway of vines. And now you're beginning to see a couple elements of flowers in these walls of yellow and orange and pink and blue. And what are the party carrying on their backs, if anything?
Probably a full like adventuring pack, so it's got my backpack with everything. I'll have Hercules just walking by my side. I'm looking at my inventory now, but yeah, it would be all the kind of standard stuff into a giant backpack probably. My gun would be holstered and my shield would be, I guess, also on my back.
I think mostly what would be on Mako's back would be her backpack, and then her glaive would be collapsed on her back.
Anything for Kitasha?
I think Hitasha's has a standard backpack with probably the crowbar and the yukla strapped to the side of it.
Mhm.
And she'll have daggers on her hips and her thalar also on her hip.
Okay. Oh, as you're walking, suddenly your packs feel a little lighter.
Ooh. Um, immediately like slinging it onto one shoulder and trying to see if there's anything obvious that's missing.
Well, for Joe, his shield is missing.
Hmm. I look over at Tasha immediately. Okay, nice try. That wasn't very funny though.
I haven't said anything. Is there a joke that just now landed for you?
Joe says, "Did you not take my shield?"
Kitasha does a T pose and turns around, as much of a T pose as she can,
Okay.
and turns around. Um,
Hmm.
unless it's a very small shield.
No, it's a regular one. All right, someone stole my shield. Someone did it. Is this a magic thing? Did someone magic away my shield?
Give me a perception check.
Hmm. That is a dirty 20.
Well, Joe, you can look ahead and you see a monkey with bright orangish red fur who is currently sitting in your path upon your shield. And not only that, in its grasp is also Mako's glaive and I believe Kitasha's instrument is in its hand.
Reloads gun. Well, they said bring no harm, but
And once more, the person that you are to be guiding through begins to approach this monkey in the far as it kind of bobs back and forth and it's watching the three of you.
mm, I guess I'll say to Mortaji, is this also a test?
Yes. Do not worry, once again, this is more towards me, but they're testing you a bit here too to see if you will react. And slowly she'll go and she'll kneel next to this monkey. And it'll look at her and it'll look at all of you before you can hear another voice, deep and rattling. Bring no greed. And the monkey will hand these items to Motaji before scampering off and disappearing through the thicket. Ugh. Words.
While the cutscene was happening, Kitasha was slowly taking out her glar
Do no
to
harm, do
do
no
a
harm.
and do no harm. Yeah, a glar to see if she could compete against the monkey for her instrument back. But since that's no longer needed, Kitasha will slowly put it back in the bag.
And she'll stand back up and hand you each your items. Before we go on, I figure I should warn you. Uh, I hope none of you have a fear of insects. If my memory serves right, the very last trial does involve a insect creature.
Hmm.
I don't think so. I mean, none of us have ran away screaming when the Thrycreen drive the vehicles.
Firstly, the Tharkeen are people, not insects.
Well, insectoid?
Are they
I
considered
figured
humanoid?
if you had like any sort of fear of insects, anything that looks adjacent like an insect
So,
might cause a
Um,
fear response.
yeah, I think would be okay. Um, depending on what nature this insect is.
Hmm. Well, we shall see. It'll be quite alright. I have full faith in you.
Does Motaji hand back our items, by the way? Or is she
Yes.
holding on to them? Okay,
Nope, we don't get it back ever.
okay.
No, your faith wasn't strong enough in Motaji. You don't get your items back.
It just
Motaji
said
will
bring the
remember this.
demons. She gets kicked out for stealing all our items.
And as you continue walking through, you do see as the pathway gets wider and wider, and you continue through, and you can just hear buzzing. As though the insect sounds had come back, but it's much more. It's so loud as briefly fluttering down, a giant scorpion fly lands in front of you, and it looks upon you four. And you hear just in your mind as it gazes at each of you, bring no prejudice. And it lightly begins to fly away, but not before lightly brushing against each of you with one of its limbs as it flies
Oh,
away.
that has more toes than I thought it would.
It's got them dogs.
Them hogs.
And you can see Motaji kind of straighten up and let out a sigh of relief. And will nod with a big smile to you three and say, I think we're welcome to finally go in.
We did it. You did it. Someone did it.
And as you continue walking, suddenly the branches give way and you are greeted by the grove. And as you gaze out, you can see in the distance another town. And you can hear noise coming from the town as it seems to be a very busy day. And in front of you is a sprawling farm with just rows upon rows of fruiting trees and vegetable gardens as far as you can see. And there's a small path going past it, and you can look out more towards your right, and you can see a house that looks as though it's been built upon over and over throughout the years. It has been built outward and upward and sideways as new additions to the family have grown and caused them to add more and more to it.
That place looks cool.
In the distance, you can see a handful of more buildings, but you can't make it out from this distance as you have entered the grove.
I guess slightly following um our our ward's like direction. I guess we'll see maybe see where she wants to head. Maybe as a DM question, how much was our contract to sort of just get her here and then ditch, or was it just as a reminder? Were we taking her back afterwards, or like protecting her for a while we're in the grove?
Nope. You were
Okay.
just meant to bring her to the grove.
Okay. Cool. I guess I'll say to the others, well, while we're here, it is late. I suppose we could at least stay the night if someone's willing to put us up. We've
Yeah.
come this far.
We also did just spend like 3 hours walking.
Mm.
after flying for 4 days. I think we should rest.
All right. Yeah. Let's. I guess we could try this place here and just ask around, see if any of the locals know the best place to stay overnight.
Hmm.
I guess we'll head for the ramshackle house.
Oh, the house that's all built together?
Yeah.
Motaji, by the way, is continuing forward towards the center of town. Just so
Okay.
you're aware.
Maybe that'll change some things. I guess.
You can go towards that house. That's totally fine. This is up to you guys where you want to go. There is also that you can see just from here. There is a farmhouse more towards the middle of this whole farm and orchard area that you currently walked out into. And you can see a bit farther into the distance another large house before you reach more the city center.
I guess I'll look over at the rest of the party and say, so how much of this do you think we'll stick with the center of town then? Rather than knocking on some strangers' homes doors. Is that a better way to start?
It is the polite thing to do.
Well, when have we ever let that stop us?
Being polite?
Yeah, I feel like in general we are a fairly blunt group of people. We say, I think as a group we tend to all say things how they are.
Or let's first see if they have a tavern or
Yep.
an inn. And barring that, I might be able to find us some sort of lodging if they
Sounds
don't
like a
ask
plan.
questions.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it. I guess we'll tail after Motaji for now.
Do a
All
nice
right.
slow jog to catch up.
Yeah, as you continue on, you can see walking past the fields are quite a few mouse folk and a couple other humanoids that you can't quite make out what species they are, harvesting quite a bit of the crops of the land. And as you're walking, you realize, I feel like a lot of these fruits and veggies aren't normally, in season right now, but here they are, fully ripe and ready to go. It's interesting. And as you continue on, you see quite a few more houses along the tree line, as well as just throughout the area that you're walking through. And you can see that each home seems to be bursting with activity as members of the households enter and exit excitedly, and they seem to be preparing for something. You can also see now, as you're getting closer, the large temple that sits in the center of the town. It is made of a black obsidian type of stone that glistens in the sun, and as you get a bit closer, you can see details of different species skeletons along the bottom, and then rising up, you have several carvings of moon dragons, and towards the top, you can see the crescent moon carved at the very top of the sprawling tower. And you can also see in front of this tower a statue of what appears to be a older human man who appears to be wearing wizard garb. And as you're walking along, you also will notice a quite large house that seems to have an attached mess hall. And as you watch, you can see more of those humanoids walking in and out and quickly moving along, and they seem to be carrying quite a bit of food prep and such. If I could get perception checks from the party.
16.
Mhm.
Crit.
Hey.
Let me add my D4. Maybe this will make it worth it. Oh, good. A 1. 6.
Well, Mako and Joe, you realize something about these humanoids. There's no flesh or skin on these guys. As you look and realize that they're all animate skeletons.
Hmm.
Each wearing clothes, and they seem to just be busy prepping away. And Mako, you can see through the window of this house as you're passing by, and it's into the kitchen. As you can see, a very elderly, oh man, the species name. Hold on.
Minotaur?
Huh?
Minot-
Minotaur, yes. Minotaur woman who seems to be working with some dough at her kitchen counter. She seems to be preparing some food as you walk past. Kitasha doesn't notice this. Kitasha is just there still thinking about the veggies.
And also, I'm assuming watching her feet very carefully so that she doesn't accidentally step on any mouselings.
It's true.
Joel said to Mako, have you ever seen skeletons moving by themselves like this before? Is this
I can't
normal?
say I have. However, I don't imagine. I mean, like, I've heard of necromancy. I've never seen it used in such a benign manner.
Oh, are they not glowing
I don't appear to be.
or angry?
No.
Not angry? Okay. I don't know why they'd be moving then.
I think, yeah, they seem to be helping around. One of them's wearing a beautiful little apron.
Why would they need an apron? They have nothing to cover.
I imagine it's for the non-undead people for the rest living here to make them appear more normal, I guess.
Then why just stop at an apron?
One of them's got a wig and some fake sunglasses.
An overcoat.
It's three skeletons
He's
in one. I don't know.
flashing people randomly with vegetables in his bones.
No. I was going to make a very obscure reference, but now I don't want to.
No, like the reference.
It's a Irish YA novel called Skullduggery Pleasant,
Yes.
and it's a skeleton man who's been cursed with immortality
hmm Yeah, I
who
read
takes
all
on
those.
an apprentice. Yeah,
Good old
I'm
Val.
glad someone knows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, unless you guys want to stop anywhere, you can continue on, right up to the temple, which is where Motaji is headed.
I guess I'd kind of say in this quietly to the party. Do we want to follow this far, or would we? Is this where we part ways with her? I don't want to intrude on anything. I'm curious, certainly, but I just don't want to intrude on anything she's doing.
I'm not super read up on bell hair. I don't know what kind of worship is acceptable.
Can I do a bell hair check? Like I guess a
You
religion
could
check.
do a religion check.
Religion
hair
check.
That's an
Flat
18. Just like I
zero.
guess I'm after I guess anything.
I know exactly the average amount of Bel Air knowledge.
I know absolutely nothing with a 5.
So, you, Kitasha, you think it has something to do with a dragon? And you wouldn't be wrong. You know there's a dragon somewhere in the religion. Mako, you know the name of Belhair, and you know that she also is referred to as the Blood Mother or Moon Mother, those sort of names. Avenging Mother. You know that it's slowly gained some popularity in a couple other species, but it mainly was a kobold religion until probably about 50 years ago.
Hmm.
Joe, you know that a lot of Belhair has to do with kind of similar to things that you've heard from Kitasha, where it's a lot of focus on the raising of children and the protection of children.
Hmm.
You briefly had a customer who was a worshiper of Belhair who would talk your ear off about it whenever you did repairs for them. And you know that a lot to do with Belhair is the protection of children and adoption of children that have nowhere to go, as well as the sanctity of bones and how when someone dies, it is up to their family to clean and to carve their bones into pieces that they would carry with them. And that if someone of Belhair were to die or be attacked in some way, that their bones will still, even if they were burnt to a crisp, their bones will remain.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess Joe might not maybe believe in all of that, or at least like think some of it might be either superstition or legend or people blowing it up, like But yeah, okay. Um, all right. So yeah, I guess back to the question then to the group. With this knowledge, do we want to leave her to it, or see this through a little bit longer? And I like I say, I'm curious, but I also don't want to intrude. How far ahead is Motaji actually?
Couple yards.
Okay, okay. So I mean, maybe perhaps I'll call out to her and say, um, was that purring coming through there?
Yeah,
That was
from
awesome.
this menace.
um, yeah, I'll say to her, is this then where we perhaps part ways, or would you wish us to come just this last little bit longer with you?
If you'd like, I'm sure they would welcome you with open arms. As well, if you were wanting to look at the library, it would be within the temple.
Well, we were potentially thinking about a stop there, so that sounds good. We will accompany you at least a little further.
And as you approach the temple, you can suddenly begin to hear a lot of giggling laughter. And as you approach, you can see out in the courtyard in front, around this statue, that you can now make out the engraving of the name Malachi beneath. There are young children of many species running around playing tag together out front. You can see around their necks, for a lot of them, they have white, black, and purple beading draped over their necks as they run and play tag back and forth. You even see a couple orcish children, Kitasha.
Mhm. And definitely seeing all the kids play together. Kitasha will have like flashbacks of Akamoros,
Mhm.
and we'll have like a very nostalgic, like wistful smile um, before continuing on.
And as you approach, you can see a tall figure. Well, tall. Not tall for Kitasha, but around Joe's height, I would say. A lizard folk woman who seems to have greenery interweaving throughout her clothing, as well as almost in a crown upon her head, and a couple of different sentient plants standing with her as she watches the children play. And she will turn and see you and stand, and she will ring a small bell that is above before walking down to greet you. I don't remember her voice very well, but I will do my best. Ah,
Voices change. It's fine.
it's fine. Voices change.
It's been 100 years, yeah.
Oh, welcome to the Grove. I see we have 4 new faces. My name is Mambara. See here, we have at least a pilgrimage here, but who are you 3?
With a pilgrimage escort. We were just assisting this woman in getting here safely.
Ah, well, I thank you for leading one of Alex's children here then. And as she says this, she will turn as the main doors to the temple open and something you weren't expecting once more happens. As a creature that is 3 foot tall begins to walk out and is wearing similar garb to Mutaji with many draping fabrics, and you have a moment of realizing that this lizard sort of creature you think maybe a kobold once upon a time wore clothes in a way just to ease others' worries about clothing. But as she approaches you, you realize that her head is no longer that of a kobold, but is maintaining that of a deer skull as she approaches you and stands at the top of the stairs, and you see Motaji go to the bottom and do a deep bow.
Joe starts bowing hesitantly.
The creature
Uh,
before you will wave her hand. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that Kitasha does like a very like courtly like bow curtsy, the kind she would do to a host or a patron.
All right. Mako's just standing there.
Yeah, fuck you guys.
Or is Mako just in shock at why does this thing have a skull head?
I make just no idea what this thing is, and it clearly has some reverence, but not from I don't know. I think if everyone else bows in respect, I think Mako will follow suit in order to maintain decorum. But it's like this is what we're supposed to do right now.
Yeah. The creature will wave its hand and
Mako following orders.
exactly. Will walk down the steps and help Motaji back to her feet as you hear. Ah, welcome. It is good to see new faces around now. I am Alex Vishta. It is very nice to meet you all. Come.
I think it's nice to meet you too. I don't mean to pry, but your head is a skull.
Yes.
Kitasha will like do one of those like really trying hard not to laugh. Because this feels like a welcome speech that a patron or a host would give that you're just kind of supposed to smile and nod to. So Kitasha's really trying not to talk.
Alex, who has just introduced herself, will let out a bellowing laugh, and you watch as the skull around her head slowly shifts and changes, and horns recede as then a kobold who looks just like a caiman looks back at you and goes, "My apologies. Sometimes I forget when I have that form on."
That is impressive. Is I do have some questions, but perhaps did you want to lead us inside first?
Of course, there is much to discuss. Thank you once more for bringing my dear child here. And you are just in time for celebration. I believe Maribel is making many pies for tonight. We have much to discuss. Plus, you must meet my son. And as she says this, you can see, poking its head around the corner, is this giant, now probably 4 or 5 foot tall, sentient piece of bok choy staring
Yeah.
out of you as you hear the sound of bak. And that is where we will end the session tonight.